starting to cool down here in LA a bit after all that just excruciating heat. And you know what? I can't even I can't even complain, because that's just a taste of the East Coast. A lot of guys here got the taste of the humidity along with the heat.
Yep.
So I can't complain. I can't play. Oh man, I'm glad this heat is gone or whatever. That's what you get when you move out here. It's been cool, but it was hot, and now it's more bearable outside. So that's a good thing as we move closer to where Halloween season, man.
Yeah. The weather is seasonable out here. We've obviously started to experience some of the cold weather at this point. Right now, it's I think in the 50s, maybe high 40s. So it's New England. It's upon us.
That crispiness, and the one thing I like about the East Coast, we've probably talked about this before. I mean, you and I off camera, we talked about millions of times, but the fall season on the East Coast is beautiful.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's scenic. If anybody can get out to East Coast, whether it's New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Maine, whatever, if you can, to see just the changing the leaves, that fall atmosphere, apple cider, and all that good
hay
stuff.
Rides and outdoor Halloween things. Yeah, nothing like it.
Exactly.
Nothing like it.
Somebody brought something to my attention. This is off topic, but I had to ask you this. It's been in the back of my mind for a week now. But talking about job interviews, have you ever had a job interview that went so bad that you knew you didn't get the job, or you performed poorly in an interview and you knew you're like, oh, I didn't get it? Me personally, I've never experienced that, but there's a lot of people who have. It's like, yo, I was partying the night before, and I just was staring at the screen. I couldn't even think in this interview. I blew it. Has that happened to you?
No, it's never happened to me. Where I've like absolutely blown interviews. The thing is, most of my professional career has been through connections, people that I've known. Most of my jobs, right? I've only had maybe a handful of jobs that I never knew who I was working for. And that's kind of just how it's worked out for me. So I've never really had, I mean, the people are technically strangers, right? If they're not family, but I've never had people that, I haven't, known in some capacity or known through somebody job wise. So no, never happened to me. I've interviewed people that I've been on the other end.
Oh,
I've
really?
interviewed people that have blown. Oh yeah.
Oh man.
That's happened quite a few times.
just like mind-boggling answers, or
combination of looking disheveled. Some mind-boggling answers, some crass answers, some very staunch in my belief answers. And again, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having a backbone or anything like that, but some that kind of just opened my eyes a little bit and was like, oh, just knowing the culture of this business, you're going to ruffle a lot of feathers, and it's probably not going to work out. So spanned I wouldn't say anything that made my jaw drop throughout the years, but just people I think the biggest thing is like just not preparation, and nervousness is what kills a lot of people in interviews.
Yeah, I've had things where I was like, man, I wish I would have mentioned this. But overall, I always feel confident after I'm done with the interview. I'm like, oh, I got this. Yeah, I wish I would have mentioned this. But hey, shout out to the people who's honest. Like, I blew the interview or whatever. It was just something. I was talking with someone, and I wanted to just ask if that's ever happened to you.
No. If anybody out there who's interviewed me that says otherwise, I mean, come forward, send me an email, shoot me a text. But nobody has ever, like I said, that I've interviewed with has really ever given me any negative feedback. It's always been pretty positive for the most part. And, I think I've gotten so good at interviewing that I kind of run the interviews at this point. Yeah. Even when I'm interviewing with a company, like I'm just really good at taking command and taking control of the situation, that I'm the one driving the interview. They get what they want out of me through the questions that I ask them. And anyways, kind of just the way I roll these days. But
yeah, and what you said, asking questions in interviews, a lot of people just sit back and answer. And we were talking about this too. It's about making a good marriage. Like, hey, they're asking you, why are you a good fit for the company? Then you got to ask them, well, why should I want to work for your company?
Exactly.
And you got to ask questions. I don't know if you want to ask it in that bluntly like that.
I mean, but sometimes you can.
Yeah. But you have to put the interviewee or the interviewer on notice, because a lot of them, they're not really trained in giving interviews. So you got to fire back at them.
Yeah.
See how they answer questions.
Yeah.
A little off topic. It was way off topic, but I wanted to throw that in there really quick.
I'm sure we can figure out how to connect it to what we're going to talk about here on the podcast in some way, shape, or form. We're kind of going to hop into talking about the past, specifically, nostalgic things.
We're feeling a little nostalgic here.
Yeah, try to keep this topic a little light and airy. The last podcast, the last episode kind of got a little heated.
And if you haven't watched it, not heated between us where we're arguing, we're pissed. No, it's just passionate about what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So let's throw that out there real quick.
Yep. I don't think we're ever going to get heated here with one another. Maybe some of the guests that come on, we may get into some interesting discussions, but
can't wait.
Yeah, that's going to be fun debating. But let's get into this.
Yeah, I have leading this off. I have a couple stories or one bringing it back to that nostalgia, and this is me looking through the lens of a dad now, what my daughter does versus what I did in the past. So talking about cartoons, right? And a lot of people will probably agree with me, and they'll feel the same way, where you remember back in the day, you would wake up Saturday morning, early, you get your breakfast going, your parents will cook you your breakfast, and there was this whole block, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. or whatever, of just great cartoons that you were you loved, from X-Men, Ninja Turtles to Batman, the animated series. I remember Sonic the Hedgehog, all those things. It was this special feeling. And the reason why I say I'm looking at it in the lens now, because it's contradictory, where I don't want my daughter in front of the screen that much. But as kids, our parents were there. They may have been having their own conversation in the background, and we're watching the TV for, 6 hours straight in the morning.
Yeah.
It was this magical feeling, and you can't describe it in words. It's something that I wish this generation could experience, because if you experience that, it's great. It's like that feeling is coming over me right now of just sitting, seeing my brothers and my sisters sitting there watching the cartoons, and that all early morning to early afternoon block. It's pretty much the same for you and your brother?
Yeah. So this is bringing me back too. We used to watch all of those shows, and I think we used to watch like Transformers. what the hell else we used to watch? The Tick, Spider-Man.
Oh man, yeah, I remember the Tick. Oh my god,
Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, how can I forget Power Rangers?
Power Rangers. Yep, that used to be every Saturday. That came on. I think, yeah. So to answer your question, first and foremost, we had the same experience growing up, and I think the way that it's described now, there's actually a bunch of literature out there, or articles, academic papers, white papers that talk about the 90s specifically, and what what this generation now is experiencing is the loss of what they call shared experience. So from when radio became a thing, right? Radio was dominant in the United States, I don't know, the late 1920s until kind of TV and cable TV came around in the late 80s. That's when, broadcasting became like a mature industry. And during the late 80s, early 90s, everybody in the country, right? Whether you were rich, poor, old, educated, uneducated, we were all feeding off of that same cultural trough, if you will, right? Through TV. It was a shared experience. Yep. Radio and TV just like glued us together. And now we don't have any of that, right? Now everything is so segmented, right? That it's like things are all over the place, right? And it's technology, but TV controlled the masses, I think, at one point or another, at least from a programmatic standpoint.
But yeah, no, you're right about that.
And it ended I think it ended in the 90s. Like once the 90s were over, that was it. It started going downhill once personal computers came out, and digital handheld electronics kind of brought that down.
Yeah, it makes sense. What you said, it's broken out because nobody's having the same experience. Some people are like, oh, how are you watching this show? Oh, I watch it on Hulu. Oh, I watch it on Netflix. Oh, I'm on Instagram. Oh no, I'm on Snapchat. Oh, I'm on TikTok. So you're right. There isn't this cohesiveness between everyone.
It's all fragmented, and it sucks. Like I said, you were just talking about the parents kind of being in the background. I remember on the weekends, my parents used to kind of I think they'd be having their coffee. They'd be having coffee. Just finished cooking breakfast, and then they're in the living room with us while we're watching TV. They're doing their own thing. I don't know, talking on the phone or sometimes watching stuff with us. But I think it was an experience where all of us were there. We were all a part of that activity. Now it's good luck.
Yeah, good luck to get everybody together. And another big thing for you guys out here now, the cartoons then were better. They suck.
100%.
Now, right? They absolutely 100%. Suck. Oh my god! Some of the remakes just trash.
Yep.
And even the original cartoons it's trash stuff now. It's like, really, this is what you're giving everybody now?
Yep. Creativity has gone out the window, and I'm sorry to say it, for all my creative people out there, writers, aspirational content creators, I'm sorry. Like, go watch all the old nostalgic cartoons that we're talking about from the late 80s and 90s, and then use that for some inspiration. Forget TikTok and fucking Snapchat and Instagram for your inspiration. Go digging. Go digging. Go relive the 90s. I feel like they're doing that in the music industry now, right? They're going back to all these older records and trying to remix them. And some of them are not good, but at least the attempt is there.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Now, did you and your brother role play? Because I know me and my brothers and my sister, we would, after the cartoons were done, we would either go outside or we would go upstairs in the house, and like, for instance, we watched the episode of Ninja Turtles, and then we'd go up, and my guy is Leonardo. So I'd be Leonardo, my older brother would be Donatello, my younger brother, Michelangelo, and then my sister would be Raphael, all four.
That's hilarious.
And we just go and
play,
reenact.
Reenact.
the movies and the cartoons, whatever episode and stuff like that. It was just it was fun, some fun times.
Yeah, we did the same things. We would actually we'd build forts, and we'd build like areas in our house. Like, so we had bunk beds in our bedroom, and we were able to like move them to a corner of the room, and we literally set up like, I don't know, bases and forts where we'd kind of pretend we were doing different things. And I think pretty much the same thing would happen. I would say when I got into like my I don't know, maybe like 9, 10, we actually got into wrestling, right? And
yes, yep.
we had a wide open basement, so we would set up wrestling rings in the basement, and we would literally be doing wrestling moves. I think one time I put one of my neighbors through a table.
Oh wow!
We had a coffee table in the basement, and I put one of the neighbors through it. I was doing a suplex or something. We broke the table.
Oh my god!
So we were doing that. We were jumping, doing all that crazy shit.
Yeah, we didn't go that far, but we did wrestle. My guy was Lex Luger, so I would always act like I was Lex Luger, and my sister loved Bret the Hitman Hart. And let me tell you something. A couple of times she put me in the sharpshooter. It hurt. It really hurt. If you guys don't know it, look up the sharpshooter, the move.
Oh yeah. That was
start screaming like, stop. You'd be having fun, and then every day, it never fails, something will end in a fight or argument.
Yep.
And then 5 minutes later, everybody's back to being friends again and playing. But it's always something.
It was always something. Yeah, man. Yeah, we used to do. These were newer guys, but we used to be like the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Jeff and Matt Hardy. Yeah, so like I used to be doing all the flips and stuff like that, and that was kind of where the dangerousness kind of took place, flipping off couches through tables, and anyways, we get a little carried away there.
Yeah, man, and that kind of like segues into like the games and stuff like that. We role playing. Obviously, the huge one. I don't think there's no family that has never played Monopoly.
Oh God! Yep.
Yeah, Monopoly was huge. The Game of Life. Sorry.
Yep. We would play. My mom, like she actually introduced us to games they used to play when they were little, like Chutes and Ladders.
Oh yeah. Yep.
My God. Everything, like then card games like Goldfish. They used to teach us those. We'd play war card games. But speaking of Monopoly, man, yeah, we used to go hours. Like we would start playing in the morning and play till the nighttime, and nobody we'd never finish Monopoly. And then
exactly,
we'd get into arguments like, I'm buying that, and you're not buying that, I'm gonna buy it. And, oh, dude, it would get crazy. We'd get into that.
We would, and that's crazy. We would all have our properties that we were like, oh, I'm gonna buy this. Like we couldn't buy, so we all already had it planned what we're gonna buy, and you would have to land on your own, so you can buy it. And it just the luck of the draw. One time it'll be me, like I'd be able to get all my stuff up quick, and then or it'll be one of my brothers, and then they're like cashing out, and I'm down to my last 20.
Yeah.
I don't remember all of the players, but I remember I loved being the man on the horse.
Yep.
I know there was a thimble, there was a dog.
The original. I used to like the car. I always used to be the car.
Oh yeah, the car. There was a wheelbarrow.
There was a boat.
Yep, there was a boat.
A hat.
A hat. Uh-huh.
Yep. I think an iron too. An iron, like an iron.
Oh yeah,
like
there was an iron
press. Yep. Yeah.
I honestly haven't played Monopoly in a few years now. It's bringing that. I might see, go on Amazon or somewhere and see how much it is, and pull the trigger.
Yeah, you got to get the classic one.
Yeah, the classic, because there's some new versions.
I've played. I've had a bunch of new versions, even with even recently, right? Like I've had the electronic version where there's no more money; it's a credit card. You literally swipe every time you want to. You load money onto the credit card, and you swipe the machine every time you want to buy something or get money added to your card. It's they had to do it, man.
Yeah, it's not. But, I mean.
It's not the same, though.
Yeah,
no, believe me,
modern
it's not.
times, yeah.
Like, it's
add
not.
it in there if you want to, but have the cash as well if you want to do both.
Yeah. So I played it with the kids, and they got a kick out of it, but I was like, this is ass because this is not, I'm like, let's go back to the cash. And I don't know. I thought the tangible cash actually added to it. You thought you were doing something when you physically touch the cash. And
you see this big prize that you have.
Yeah. Now it's digital, but that's back then and now, kind of the times we're in. But I recommend, again, get the original if you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And then also too, obviously with game, those are just the board games, but then you have your video games.
Video games. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, we had Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega, Genesis, PlayStation, Game Boy.
Had them all.
Yeah. Game Boy was It was fun. I got onto that from friends from school.
The Game Boy?
See them. There was always that one kid that his parents were ahead of everybody else, and that kid had everything. Nintendo to Game Boy to whatever else was out. This kid already a Game Boy mini games, so we just sit there, everybody just watching him play, and it was fun just watching him play. Like it wasn't even a thing. Like, hey, you want to turn? It just excited seeing it. Him playing it. Yeah, and then
that's kind of how my brother and I were. We were spoiled, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately, I guess. Like I'm not gonna sit here and downplay it, but we were the same way. I had the original Game Boy. I had Game Boy Color. I don't know if you remember that when Game Boy Color came out.
I remember.
So we were the same way. But I used to like to play with people too. Like I wasn't when we were able to bring that stuff to school, it wasn't for long because then they started like banning electronics. But like I used to like to play with other people. Again, had all the systems. Still have some of the systems till this day. I still have my original PlayStation, my PlayStation 2, obviously PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. Still got my original Xbox too, which is probably worth some money. I got it when it first came out,
I hated playing when Nintendo came out, and my sister, because she was a little older, and she was good at all the games, especially Mario, like the first Mario, and that one. One person's Mario, the first player is Mario, second player is Luigi, and you would have to wait until they die. Before you got your turn. I hated playing my sister in that. She's just waiting and she's not dying, just going through the level. And at one time, she beat the whole game before I even had a chance to go, and I was so mad. And then, or sometimes she'll get far, she'll die. And then it's my turn, and then I'll be playing for like 15 seconds, and then I'll end up dying, and then it's her turn again. It wasn't where you both would go at the same time. You had to wait your turn.
Yeah. I remember. I remember all the original the NES Mario games. I remember number 2, number 3.
Oh yeah.
Loved loved the Nintendo.
Yeah, to you, what was the worst Nintendo game? I have one that comes to mind, just god awful. It was Friday the 13th.
Oh, you know what game
Oh God! To this day, I don't know how to play it or beat it. It was a combination of hard and stupid.
I remember that game. the graphics were obviously not all that good in those games.
Yeah.
Jason had like a purple or blue mask, if I remember right, or something like that. No, the game that I didn't the game that I didn't like the most on there, that I tried to play the game over and over and over again and just could not figure it out. It was I don't know if you remember Ghostbusters. That game sucked. That was I think that's actually on the list of like the top 10 worst Nintendo games ever. That game sucked.
That brings me to something. Everyone who, when you watch this, here's some homework for you. Talking about games that suck. Look up if you don't already know it, the Angry Nintendo Nerd, or now he goes by the Angry Video Game Nerd. He's still doing the videos to this day. He's older now, but he was called the Angry Nintendo Nerd. He used to do reviews on why some games sucked so bad. Hilarious. So if you can, just your homework, please check him out. Angry Nintendo Nerd, and now he's called the Angry Video Game Nerd because now he does all video games. And just the way he did it in the past, it was just something different. Like it was never done before. It was hilarious. So
I watched a lot of his episodes over the years.
What do you say? He was one of the first like YouTube viral sensations.
Yeah. I think back in 2006 he posted something on YouTube and he kind of popped off from what I remember. That's prior to that he actually had stuff out on DVD and like actually VHS. He had a couple of things out, and I think actually like he's got stuff out now on Blu-ray if you want. Whoever's using Blu-ray, I don't know, but anybody has a Blu-ray player, like let us know because I don't think I've ever even had one at that point.
Yeah, speaking of nostalgia, I mean there are those people they're out there. They rather have the Blu-ray player and the CDs.
I guess. I mean, I think we talked about this on a podcast episode about music. Like I still have music CDs, not because I use them. For all intents and I think I've downloaded all of them at this point and converted them to all the MP3s that I keep in my my iTunes account or my Apple Music, if you will. That's all I have them for, and just maybe they'll be worth money in the next 50 years. By the time I'm 70, maybe the CDs will be worth money. They'll be ancient artifacts that no longer exist. I'll still have them.
Speaking of CDs, there was one. I just skimmed the article, and forgive me for not getting it right, but I believe it was an engineer. He was talking about that, about CDs. He was like, everything would be better if we just put everything back on the medium of CDs. They last longer. It's easier, instead of all this, the streaming and stuff. He's like, yeah, that's there, but it should just go back to CDs. It was an interesting article and what he said, because he's a sound guy and how he explained it. It was really interesting.
Yeah, I know the science behind it. It's because CDs are actually, so they're better quality because they're lossless and they're uncompressed, right? MP3s are lossy compression, and they reduce a lot of the audio details in the compression. So I think that's probably why they were saying like we should go back to them, because CDs read perfect every time, and they could be 29 years old. They're still going to read the same unless they're scratched or, obviously if you damage the media, not going to work. But in theory, they work forever, basically. So.
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper, he said, versus vinyl, because there's been a vinyl resurgence as well. Yeah. So, which I love. Sure. I love vinyl, but he was like, it's just easier and cheaper to produce if we just went back to CDs. Yeah. So it's another little anecdote.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, we're talking about technology. Figure we talk a little bit about the telephone. So I remember, I remember the telephone, being plugged into the, I don't know, I'm sure you remember that still, right? The telephone wire being plugged into the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Telephone being plugged into the telephone jack in the computer when you wanted to connect to the internet, dial up.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see.
That landline.
Landline. Yep. I remember. I know this isn't, necessarily a telephone, but I remember beepers. My dad used to have beepers. My grandfather had beepers. Just the advent of the telephone. Obviously, revolutionary piece of technology, but
yeah. Here's a telephone to me growing up. It was this mysterious, amazing thing because my mom controlled it.
Yeah, same here.
I couldn't touch it, couldn't answer it or whatever. She had to, when it rang, you let mom get it. You don't touch it.
Yep.
Obviously growing up in middle school, and then early high school, I didn't have a cell phone. And I remember one time I was on the school bus with my boys, and we're going to school, and then there was this girl, and I didn't know she was like trying to get my attention. And my boys like, "Yo, she's gonna get your attention," and she's like, "Hey, what's up? I like you. Can I get your number?" And I said to her, I laugh about this all the time. I said to her, I was like, "Oh, I don't know my phone number." And she just looked at me and was like, "Oh, okay." And the way she was like, I'm lying. I didn't want to give it to her. I'm not interested in it. She was a very attractive young lady, from what I remember. And my boy was just laughing at me. I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Why would you say that?" He's like, "Why wouldn't you just tell her to give you her number?" And I wasn't as suave as I am now. But I can say that I took an L at that time. I blew it.
Yeah. Same here. I'm trying to remember growing up with my parents, and then like at my grandparents' house when I used to go hang out with them and stay over there. Yeah. I don't think I started answering the phone until like I became like teenager, maybe teens. And then by the time I was a teenager, cell phones were becoming a thing. I got my first cell phone when I was 14, I think. My grandfather actually got it for me on his Verizon account. He goes, "Here you go." He goes, I'll get you a cell phone. He's like, I don't know. That was like the next step of maturity in my life and in my grandfather's mind. He's like, "Oh, I'll get you a cell phone." He goes, let's not burden your parents with that. And then you can call me and your grandma and whatever. So, that was like their selfish way to access me personally, my grandparents. So he got me a Verizon flip phone, and
oh yeah,
that was
it the
set it off.
Was it the Razor? Because I know that was Verizon.
That was before the Razor came out. So I think Razor. I'm trying to think, when did the
Wasn't
Razor
the Razor the first flip phone?
No, well, I mean, maybe the first technologically advanced flip phone. No, I think it was like the phone I had was like a LG something. It had a color screen on the front of it.
Yeah.
Here, I'll actually, I just found it. It's the LG VX5200. Here, I just sent you a quick little thing in the chat here, so you can see what it looks like. But that was my first phone ever. LG flip phone, and then after that, I believe the Razor came out. I got the Razor after that. Then, like 2 years later, I went to T-Mobile. I had a Sidekick. I don't know if you remember those.
Sidekick, yeah, I remember that.
I had the Sidekick.
The girls typing on those things would just
Yep.
annoy me.
Yep.
God.
Then I had the Google G1, the first Google phone, the G1, the G2.
Oh yeah, I had that.
Yep. So, yeah.
Do you remember when you would go to like Verizon, or they had the little booths in the mall? Hey, you want to get a free phone?
Yep. That's how I got my phone. I got my phone actually at a Verizon inside BJ's. So,
funny story. This doesn't happen now, but I mean, if I could give advice to someone. So, funny story. My cousin, I was hanging out with him in the mall. and I already had a cell phone. I had a T-Mobile, I believe. And the guy stops me. He's like, "Hey, we're giving away free phones. Do you want to see if you get approved?" And I'm 18, 17 maybe. Like 17 or 18. And I'm like, all right. And my cousin's like, yeah, do it. It's like, all right. So he runs everything, runs the credit. Obviously, I'm young. I don't have anything on there. And he's like, "Oh, you got approved for 6 phones." And he's like, "Oh, you could take all 6 phones and you have a month if you don't want them, whatever. But you get all 6 for free." And he said, "Oh, the plan is this. It's going to be this amount." It's like, "Oh, and I'm doing the math. Like, oh, if I get 6, I got 6 people to give it to, then that's going to be easy." But he's not telling me like, "Oh, each phone has their own, they cost plan a little something." So I took 1, 2, 3, 4. I took 4 of the 6. I was smart enough not to take all 6, even though he was like, "Oh, just take all 6." I was like, no, you need 4. So I gave 1 to my cousin. I had 1, and I gave 2 to 1 to other family members. And then you're just doing your thing. You're not noticing it, and then next thing, that first bill comes in, and I'm thinking, like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be whatever he said, $150 divided by 4 people, a little less than $40 a person."
Yeah.
Nope. You get that first bill and it's like $500 and something dollars. And my mouth dropped. And then before I know it, and this was Sprint, by the way.
Yep.
And then before I know it, then the next thing we turn around, the bill is $2,000.
Wow.
And it's safe to say that they got cut off, and at 17 years old, I had the first ding on my
credit
report. Yeah, and because not being educated, and these sellers they just need to sell move phones.
Yep, that's it. They don't give a shit how it's
predatory. Done. Yeah, they're being predatory, and that's like shame on Sprint at the time. They target young kids that most of them just don't understand it. It's like, "Oh, you want free phones? Hey, you get 3 free phones."
Yeah, they still do it. They still do it. You see it to this day. There's just different ways of doing it.
Yep, exactly. And that's a lesson. If someone says, "Hey, you get free anything," chances are free doesn't really mean free. It's like, all right, if it's free, hand it to me and I'll take it and I'll walk away. That's free.
Exactly. Exactly.
You don't have to take any info. You don't need my social security number, or you could just take my name.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
It.
Exactly.
But usually it's like, "Oh, you want to get a free phone?" They don't tell you all the terms and everything. They just tell you all the good stuff. "Oh, it's going to cost this amount." And then when you get that first, they don't tell you about the activation fee and all that stuff.
None of that. No.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, that's unfortunate,
Yeah.
That's the cell phone industry or telecommunications.
And obviously, at 17 years old, trying to pay that off.
Oh God!
Because you get phones
almost
for everybody, and your family members who got the phone, they're not going to help you do that.
No.
And, imagine you're not understanding how collection agencies work, and then they're calling you and.
Yep.
"Oh, you got to pay this, or this is gonna happen." You're like scared. "Oh, I don't have the money. What do I do?" And
that's funny.
Yeah. So.
I think that's funny, man. Well, I think again, I know you were 17, so almost almost an adult. But I think next little piece here, kind of maybe coincides in some way, shape, or form. But punishment, today versus back then. I don't know. I doubt you get in trouble for that, right?
That one was just a learning experience. It was just like, hey, you should have known better. Punishment. I can do a whole episode
on punishment.
on just punishment.
Yeah, same here.
Alone.
Yeah, same here.
The different stages of it, the different versions, reading your parents, like, okay, I'm not going to get that much in trouble for this one, or I don't want to go home. I know when I go home, I'm gonna get it. And punishment was at the forefront of my upbringing.
Yep, same here.
Shaped me to who I am today. And
same here.
We talked about this before, about difference between punishment and abuse. And this wasn't abuse. You're getting a spanking. That's not abuse, as they make it seem today.
No.
Where some kids, they need a little, smack on the butt, smack on the bottom.
Yeah,
and,
a little physical, just a little physical reformation, kind of get you back in line. Some
tough love. Yeah. Everybody needs it. It's not. Nope. It's not this closed fist, just like wailing on a kid. And
it's something to get their attention first and foremost. Really,
absolutely.
It's not to inflict physical pain, even though it may hurt a little bit.
It hurt.
That was me kind of trying to lighten a little bit. No, it used to hurt. I used to get it too. I will say that as I grew older, it lessened because I understood what was to come. Like you were just talking about reading your parents. I knew what I could get away with and what I couldn't get away with. But as I got older, it stopped because. Meaning the actual hitting, because it's like, well, they're teenagers now. That's what's that going to do? Slapping them, they're going to just go, whatever, take it and go back to doing what they're doing. But I guess because we got it while we were younger, it kind of just became ingrained in us. Like, oh shit, there could be worse. Now that we're bigger, but worse things could happen. Like they could call the cops, or they could say, oh, whatever, and get us in bigger trouble. That's what we were worried about.
And people will take this the wrong way, and you know what? I don't care. It's instilling a certain respect, a certain fear in your child, that they have a fear of you being their parent. And I'm not saying a fear was like, I am scared of my dad. I don't want to go home. My dad's gonna be crazy. No, it's something a fear that makes them respect you as a parent, not as their friend first. There's a lot of great parents. Let me preface this before someone shoots me. There's a lot of great parents that do go by the friends first.
Yeah.
Way of parenting.
Yeah.
Me, I hate that style. It's be a parent first. Stop trying to be their friend. And best friend. Your relationship can evolve and be that way, and it's like, oh my god, a mom and a daughter, y'all are almost like sisters or best friends. It can evolve, but as they're growing up, you have to get them to respect you as their parent. You wanting them to be your friend, why do you want your child to do the same things with you as they would do with their friends? There's a certain type of respect. I don't drink, and I hope my daughter doesn't, but if she does, and she does it with her friends, she's not going to come with me, with dad, like, yo, dad, let's have a drink. No. Like, there's a lot of, and my, daughter's mom, her family, they're like that,
some are. I've seen that.
When my daughter was a baby, that whole neighborhood, she grew up around Hispanic, and they welcome everybody. They're like, oh, your daughter's family. Everybody on this block is family. Come have a drink and stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's that family atmosphere. But I'm saying, if your child just does it, if they never did it with you, then they do it with their friends, and they come back, and do it just like, oh, mom, I snorted crack with my friends. Come on, let's do this. It's like you got to command a certain level of respect from your kids, and that's what that punishment was and what it meant. Not here. Abuse.
Yeah, no, same here, and I still feel the same way till this day. Fortunately, I think like you and I think we're both. I don't want to say that we are. have big figures in terms of stature, right? Like we're not freaking 6 foot plus hulking guys, but I just think that our presence, our aura, that energy we give off just commands respect. And, I think that's known, and I believe that's why my daughter respects me. And I'm assuming that's why your daughter respects you. My daughter just knows, like, dad is not to be messed around with. And it's not through, I very rarely had to raise my voice. A little bit, with her siblings, and them getting a little rowdy and stuff, I would raise my voice, and they'd hear the bass in my voice. But for the most part, it was just understood. I would just give them a look. I would just look at them, and they'd understand, like, uh-oh, like I better pick that stuff up or stop doing what I'm doing, because could be consequences. Just knowing that there's consequence, I think, is enough in some instances to get kids to pay attention, and smarten up. And I know that's what my parents did for the most part. They, either my dad or my mom primarily was the disciplinarian, but my dad could raise his voice too if he needed to. But no, for the most part, it was just like, hey, knock it off, cut the shit, or you're going to get slapped. And that was enough.
Yeah. And just like what you said, you hardly have to raise your voice. I think the only thing I yell at my daughter for is sometimes she may get a little too rowdy. And I'm like, hey, Maya, you have to calm down.
Yeah, that's all I do.
I just tell her to calm down. I don't tell her to stop, because I want her to be active and run around and stuff like that. I'm just like, hey, you got to calm down.
Yep. Mine too. Mine still likes to jump on furniture and do all that stuff.
Or if I say something and Maya get down, she doesn't. Second time get down. Then the third time, I'm like, Maya, you have to listen. But as far as quote unquote bad child, no, I've been blessed with a great child.
Yep.
And at an early age too, where you say, a lot of people say, oh, my child is caring and they're compassionate. That's my daughter in a nutshell. And, the perfect child, I would have to say. Yeah. I couldn't ask for anyone better.
Yeah, no, same here, man. I think I've been blessed as well. And I'm looking forward to, like I said, I'm looking forward to the future now. Like, I'm looking forward to what my daughter's going to become and do. So I think, one other little add-on to the conversation here around, and you can speak to this with regard to your daughter, and I can speak to this about mine. Remember when we were growing up, and we'd be outside or we'd be playing video games, and tell your mom or your dad, like, I need 5 more minutes, right? Like, that used to get me in trouble, man. Overextending my ask at times, Mom, I need 5 more minutes. I'm still, I'm not done playing Madden yet, or we'll be done in 5 minutes, Mom. And, you just kind of looking out of the corner of your eye. Oh, 5 minutes are up. Let's keep going. Versus like today, if you let your daughter play on the iPad or, or whatever, watch TV or watching YouTube or something like that on TV, it's like, it's funny to see it from their perspective now, right? Like, we're the parent on the other end going like, hey, like I tell my daughter, like, hey, it's 10:30 at night. It's an hour past your bedtime. What are we doing here?
All right, Dave. So this one, I'm just sitting there smiling at this one, because my household, there was no such thing as Mom, 5 more minutes. When she said, you're done, you were done. That was it. When my mom said it's time for bed, don't let her say it a second time. When we were outside and playing, and the whole neighborhood knew my mom didn't play. The whole neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood had this respect for her, and she just commanded this respect. But every child wanted to come to her house, and I say her house, not our house. It was her house. But every child was like, oh, can we come to your house, please? Because even though my mom was very, very strict, there was this motherly, she always had this motherly aura
that
attracted other kids because they knew we were in a loving household.
Yep.
But, when we're playing and every kid knew it when my mom would open the door and say one of our names, Jeremiah, Timothy, Jason, Stephanie.
You better run.
Every kid looked at each other. Oh, you guys better go. Just go. And all the other kids would end up going in as well. Or sometimes she'll call us in and then the kids, they're respectful. Miss Kathy, is it okay if after they're done eating, can they please come outside and play a little bit more?
Yep.
And my mom will be like, we'll see. Or sometimes we'll say yes. Or most of the time, no, they're done for the night. You guys can play tomorrow.
Yep.
And that was it. And I'm like, okay.
Yep.
We didn't back talk something. Yeah, I'll be like, kind of mad with my head down. Like I wanted to stay outside. But you weren't arguing that.
Yep.
And it goes back like what you said with your daughter, where early this morning when I was dropping my daughter off to her mom, and I'm like, all right, come on, we gotta go. And she's like, oh, Daddy, I'm about to beat this level. Just give me a couple more minutes. And I'm like, just looking at her like, okay. Just in 2 minutes, hurry up and beat it. And then I'm like looking at her, and then she ends up beating it real quick. She's like, okay, let's go. So there's this difference of even where I got all these things from my mom, there's still this different approach to raising a child.
Yep. Yeah. I don't think I'm as harsh as my parents. I know when they used to yell outside too, that I think inside I used to get the 5 more minutes. Outside, I think if my mom opened the door and like crossed that threshold to like come outside, I think we used to come running.
Yep.
That was about it. But yeah, no, it was a respect thing,
Exactly.
At the end of the day. All right. Well, we're on a roll here. Let's see how many more things we can get through. So do you remember growing up, like what you wanted to be, and then has your daughter expressed anything about where she wants to be when she grows up?
Yeah, she gets this from her mom. She loves animals, so she's like, "Oh, I want to be a vet."
Yep.
And then she's like, oh, I love makeup and hair and all that stuff. Oh, I want to be a hairstylist. And it's nothing that dad wants her to be. It's all, mom's doing, which is fine. But both of those things, for me, like that's totally okay. I don't mind, obviously, being a vet. And if she wanted to go the route of like makeup and hair and doing all that stuff. Yeah. So totally fine. You're totally fine with me. I'm sure it's going to change a third, a fourth, a fifth time. So let them do it
freely.
Express what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Although I'm trying to start her. I wish I would have started her a little earlier, but she shows so much interest in the piano. That's the one thing for Dad. Is I want her to learn how to play the piano. That's just a selfish dad thing. And then real quickly for me, growing up, it was always something involving music or creative. Obviously, like I was thinking, oh yeah, I could be a firefighter, but that didn't last long. But it was that, and I had this vision of playing in the NFL. Just the first game I watched, I was hooked. And then in middle school, when we would play football, just at when it was gym time, and everybody was like, "Yo, man, this kid is fast." And the gym teacher's like, "Hey, you are fast. So you want to run track, or do you want to play football or something?" And I didn't know. I was kind of shy in middle school, so I was like, "No, I don't want to." He was like, "Oh, you should think about it." And every time we would play, I was like, "Oh, watch out for Jeremiah. He's fast." And then high school came. I played for 3 years of high school. No, I played just sophomore and junior year, and it was the same thing. I get on the field, and they're like, oh, okay, we want you guys to chase someone with the ball. Who wants to run with the ball? Okay, I'll do it. Boom, put on the Jets. Nobody can touch me. And that it was just great. And then every practice I was encouraged by my the assistant coach. It's like, Jeremiah, man, like, you could be great. You just need to get in the weight room, because I was skinny.
Yeah, he wanted you to
bulk
bulk
up.
up.
Man, you gotta. Yeah, he was like, he wanted me to bulk up, get in the weight room, and just be consistent. He was just riding me. Sometimes he would ride me like, if I'd miss a block or something, or if someone would like hit me really hard, he would laugh. He's like, he just pointing at me and laugh, and then he'll come over. He's like, see, why didn't I tell you to pay attention to the corner? And I'm like, yeah, you did. And but he was like a father figure, and I look back at that. I don't regret where I am now, but I just wish I paid more attention to what he was trying to instill in me, and just being more into it. I guess I loved it, but I loved music more, and I always wanted to run home to watch Dragon Ball Z at that time. And that's what kept me from it. But
that's all good.
Yeah, I had a future. Like I can't tell you, like I was good, not to toot my own horn, but I was good. And if I would have stayed on it, things could be different. But do I regret it? No. No. I love where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So for me, so obviously it did start off wanting to be a firefighter, and up until I was maybe like, I don't know, in my teens. My dad's sister used to date a guy who was a fire chief in Seekonk, and so when I was a little kid, I actually get to see all that stuff. I went to a bunch of like scenarios, like not I think they would call them disaster scenarios. So we went over to a Home Depot in Seekonk where they had basically lots of role playing, where they had fire departments from all over the place, like coming to fake pull injured people out of the building. Like they basically made it seem like the building collapsed. How would the fire department react? And I got to see all that. I went in the building. I got to actually go up on the ladder truck. I climbed the ladder with a firefighter, went all the way up to the top, like 90 feet in the air as a kid. No. I was. They were like, wow, kid, you could be a firefighter. Like, you're doing this young? No, just climbed right up it. I ran up to the top. And the firefighter who brought me up, like, had to chase me up there, chase behind me, because I was climbing right up the ladder. And as I got older, got into high school, maybe middle school, towards the end of middle school into high school, I kind of wanted to, I don't know, I got this patriotic thing about me, kind of wanted to serve the country, right? I come from a pretty deep-rooted military family. Lots of people served in my family. Some still serve. So, my grandfather was an Air Force veteran, 35, maybe 37 years when he finally retired in the Air Force. And kind of, I don't know, the bug bit me. So I wanted to obviously become a fighter pilot at that point. So I was going to go to school to do aeronautical engineering, so that once I stopped flying planes, I was going to build them. That was going to be my thing. And then, I don't know, something happened in mid high school, junior year, maybe. I don't know, a light bulb went off in my head and was like, yeah, probably isn't going to be the route for me. Because I was going to go to the Air Force Academy, right? You have to get nominated by a state senator, a U.S. senator, to go to any of the military academies. You have to get nominated. Mm-hmm. So I had all my papers in, and I just said, nope, sorry, not going to do it. Just did not want to do it. I didn't want the government to own me, right? Because you go to the Air Force Academy, you don't pay for college, so it's a 4-year bachelor's degree. You come out as a commissioned officer, as a second lieutenant, so you earn your commission upon graduation. You owe the government 6 to 8 years just for graduating. And then when you go become a fighter pilot, you sign a contract where you owe them another X amount of years for flying planes, for going through flight school. And I was like, yeah, by the time I'm done this, I'm going to be late 30s. Not going to work for me. Well, maybe mid 30s, right? I'd be right around finishing probably right now. And it just didn't work for me. Yep. I started learning about business and, money midway through high school, and I was like, wait a minute, I was in the midst of looking at the entertainment industry, music business, and was kind of like, yeah, I think I want a career in business, and that's kind of where my head turned. So I guess I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now professionally. And anyways, on my daughter's side, she wants to be a marine scientist.
Oh, wow.
She's pretty staunch in her wanting to do that. And I can only attribute it to us bringing her to the aquarium so much as a little kid. And even like up until now, like she loves going to the aquarium. I bring her to all kinds of different aquariums, and she loves marine life. She loves those beluga whales. I got stingrays, manta rays, seals. Like she loves marine life. She's like, I want to help those animals. So I was like, okay, well, we got some good programs here on the East Coast to get you into a good marine school to become a scientist if that's what you want to do down the road. We'll see. But that's kind of where her head is at. So I was like, oh, that's good for you if that's what you want to do. We'll help you do that.
Kids in their visions are pretty unique. And
they are.
I love it.
I love it. They are, man. Well, we've been going for a while here. I got a couple more here we can kind of go through.
Throw it in real fast.
Yeah, let's see. We talked a little bit about this. These two kind of go together, but don't take this as racist, anybody. But we were talking about this offline.
We talked about this. Yeah,
we talked about this. So you may hear this coming from a white guy towards a black guy and think there's some sort of racial epithet behind it, but there's not. Right? We were contemplating, the whole. Well, I'll just say it, right? Like, is chicken and watermelon really a black thing? You wanna?
Yeah, I would love to go first on this.
Go ahead.
I brought it up. I'm like, hey, is that really a black thing? Where did it come from? And we kind of took it on because people were saying that. But
yeah,
I know plenty of white people, Spanish, whoever, that love chicken and watermelon. And how many different races that chicken is the
main ingredient,
exactly
the main protein.
Yes, in everything. And I'm baffled. And excuse me for my own ignorance if some people know or have this answer. Yes, we could have researched it and kind of asked, where did this come from? Quick search. But I wanted it to be raw, and I didn't want to have the answer. I want someone to bring me the answer. Like, why did we take that on? And why, like, oh yeah, chicken, and watermelon. My daughter, yes, she's black, but she's half Mexican.
Yep.
And Salvadoran. And, she loves it. And she loves chicken and watermelon. Her mom is Mexican and Salvadoran. Does she love chicken and watermelon? Yes, she does. So I'm stumped. Do you have any insight, Dave?
I don't. All I know is that, like, we grew up eating that shit too. So I don't know if that makes us any different than anybody else. I mean, I honestly, I've never looked into it. I've heard it. I know that, like I said, they call watermelon and chicken like a my God, I heard they call it a trope, a racist trope, right? Which is like a trope. If you don't know what the word, I'm throwing a big word out here, but for those that aren't listening, a trope is basically a figurative or metaphorical use of the word or expression. So it's that's what they call it. They call it a racist trope. Why? No fucking clue. I don't know. I love chicken and watermelon. I like my guilty pleasure is chicken and waffles. I mean,
exactly. It's like,
and my family, we are as white as they come. We're as fucking Eastern European as Eastern European can be, you know. So, I don't know. I think it's
help us out. If you have the answer, we're asking you to enlighten us.
If you understand what that stereotype is, please, like I said, please bring it to the forefront, because I have no fucking clue. I thought everybody ate chicken and waffles. It wasn't until I got older that started to hear this. Like, oh, that's a stereotypical thing. Like, what? Like, I mean, I don't know. I've been eating that shit since I was a kid.
Yeah, and then growing up, my mom cooked everything: rice, spaghetti, lasagna. Yeah, you name it. She made it. It wasn't, we weren't just chicken and watermelon four times a week.
No. Like I said, it's messed up how how these things come to our attention as once we become more self-aware, about the unfortunate tragedies that befall us, in the world, right? Specifically around racism, right? Racism is a tragedy as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, like the thing is, like until I became old enough to understand that this type of behavior exists in the world, I never looked at it like that. Like we eat tacos. My family made tacos. We used to make our own taco night. Like we've eaten food from almost every culture that exists growing up. So to say that one food is racially, I don't know, it's just, one culture just eats this kind of food. I mean, it's like, no. Like you just said, everybody eats chicken unless you're a vegan or vegetarian. We're not talking about that. Yeah. That's a whole other group of people, but we're talking about the people that eat meat. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You don't eat chicken. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna look. If you're a meat eater and you don't eat chicken or you haven't eaten it, well, you're missing out on something as far as I'm concerned.
Man. So hey, I agree.
Nothing like a good piece of chicken, man.
Yeah. I cool. Yeah, we got one more for you. We're gonna keep this one short, and we'll end it. But what do you got? What do you got next for us, Dave?
I mean, I think we kind of talked a little bit about this. Let's let's. I mean, we're talking about race here. Let's keep it. Let's keep it in the same vein. I mean, growing up around different people, meaning different demographics, different cultures. Yeah. How is that for you? And then, I guess, does your daughter notice? Like, and I can talk about, how my daughter is and, my growing up differently.
Yeah. So I'll try to keep mine under a minute here. Growing up, it was human beings, children.
Yeah.
I looked at someone who may have looked differently and didn't see that difference. It's just when you're a child, you don't see it. It's like, oh, you want to play? Yeah. Oh, he's fun. Or she's fun. Let's play basketball together. Let's play tag. Let's play freeze tag. That's what it was about. There wasn't this racism is taught. And when a kid comes out like, ew, you're black, that's taught. They heard that from someone. Ew, you're white. Why do you guys do this?
Yep.
That's taught.
Yep.
That wasn't taught in my household. We just went out and we played, and that's it. And if they looked differently, if their skin was lighter than mine, who the hell cares?
Yep.
Who cares? It's the character. It was a great person. This person was great. We talked about this off air. When I switched schools in kindergarten, and the first kid that really we attached to, my best friend at the time was a white kid named Jared Khaleesi. Yep. Cool kid. And we did everything together. We didn't see it. And going for my daughter, same thing. She doesn't see it. She plays with anybody. Just are they fun? That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all she cares about.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. This thing that it matters. Media blowing things out of proportion and stuff like that. But that's neither here nor there.
Neither here nor there. Yeah.
We didn't see it. We didn't hear it.
Yeah. No. Same here. The answer that I'm going to give you about my daughter is a little complicated, but so for me specifically growing up, I never saw it. My parents never made a big deal about color or anything like that. Like I said, our next door neighbor growing up was actually we lived in a condominium. My parents had a condo before they purchased their first single family property. And our next door neighbors were black. Cliff, Roberta was his wife, and I don't remember the daughter's name, but we used to play. Like I said, when I was like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 years old, even before kindergarten, that was like a really good friend of mine. We'd play everything, video games. We'd run around in the condominium complex and play, and we never saw color. She was just a good friend of mine growing up. Like, oh, that's my friend. I don't remember her name. But that was that. And then where I grew up, I grew up in the inner city. I know if people find out like where I grew up and where I looked, they're like, oh, that's not an inner city. Demographically, I grew up in an inner city, and all the schools that I went to were all full of mixed races. They weren't prominently white. Certainly not when I went to high school, right? I went to an inner city high school. I think I was the freaking minority. I know the demographic data doesn't say that, but that's what it felt like to me. But I had no problems. That's why I think I've been able to be so successful and adaptable in the world, because I never looked at anybody differently. Like, you were just you're just people in my school, like friends and classmates, and that shit didn't matter to me. Never. So again, I thank my parents for putting my brother and I in, like, letting us grow up in an inner city, because we could have grew up in the sticks. We could have grew up in the suburbs when my parents grew up. They had the foresight. I say this a lot. I say this to everybody. Like, I think they had some sort of parental instinct or intuition that the world was going to be drastically different than it was when they were growing up. Like, might as well set up our kids for success so they can be adaptable to the world. And like I said, I think they did a great job of doing that for us, not knowing or not knowing. I think it was a subconscious thing, but
that's true.
On my daughter's side, so unfortunately, race is talked about a little bit in the household, and it was talked about while I was with, my daughter's mother, at the time. And I never liked that, because I was like, I don't come from this. I don't come from this racially divided life. And if that's what you came from and that's what you experienced, talking about her mother, I'm sorry. I didn't experience that. You need to get that out of your head. Don't put that on your kids. Don't put that on our daughter, certainly, because there's no need for separating colors. And I think my daughter's smart enough to know at this point. Like, my daughter knows she's mixed. She knows she's white. My daughter is very much mixed. She's white, black, Spanish, all mixed into one. And I make it a point whenever we're out playing, like she plays with everybody, but I'm always afraid that she's being told things or hearing things in the background that are going to get ingrained in her mind. That's just a concern of mine, because like I said, it happened growing up, and the mom would unfortunately speak ill of other races, and that kind of bothered me a little bit. So anyways,
exactly. Yeah, man, there's a difference between educating, my daughter, I educate her here and there on some of the hardships of black people. Just let her know, like, hey, some people may experience, may look at how you look and may not like it. But I always tell you be nice to everyone. That's where, no matter what, your heart and you being humble, you being sincere to everybody, that's what matters. And I tell her here and there, not a lot, because I just want her to be a child. I want her to and just have fun. That's what I wanted. The main thing, have fun right now. Just be a child. But there's a difference if you're going to talk about race in a household. There's a difference between educating or
just speaking
adding,
unnecessary color.
Stoking the flame, so to speak.
Yeah. So I worry about that a little bit, unfortunately. But nonetheless, I know it exists, so I'm able to keep an ear out to make sure that I don't hear anything that is alarming at this point. But the worry is there for me, and it's unfortunate, like I said, that's something that I had to deal with, and may have to be dealing with in some way, shape, or form in the future. But we'll see.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I think we've done a pretty good job of talking to everybody here. This is going to be probably one of our longer episodes.
I feel very nostalgic. I want to get a graphic tee of like Transformers or something, Optimus on the tee, Ninja Turtles. Yeah, there's a lot we didn't get to as well.
Can probably do a part 2 on this one.
Yeah. We may do a part 2 on nostalgia. Then and now. Man, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Well, we'll get out of here. We've kept you guys for a while this time. But
bedtime, kids.
Exactly. Hopefully we brought some smiles to you older folks listening, or folks that are around our age. Hopefully, again, you guys enjoyed conversation. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah. Remember, angry Nintendo nerd or angry video game nerd.
Yeah, exactly. check him out. Alrighty, we are out.
Peace.